Today I'm visiting Old Goa, and this is the Archaeological Museum Chapel of St. Catherine, Church and Convent of St. Francis of Assisi, Archaeological Survey of India. Well, let's go in there and see what we can find. What is this place? So first thing as we enter, they have these pillars, and I don't know what they are. Architectural piece, coat of arms. So there seems to be some kind of historical, carvings, pillars mostly, that they might have recovered from some older buildings. Door jamb or window frame. So there's a selection of them here as you enter into this cathedral area. Looks kind of like a Corinthian column. What does it say? Architectural member with Rococo curves. Okay. So these are the grounds of this church. There's a few churches around here. That's one of them. We'll go see what the name is. And there's another chapel down there. So these grounds are spread over a few acres, and there's more on the other side. Old Goa has a lot of these old churches. So that building down there, that chapel, is the chapel of St. Catherine. And here it says millstones of gunpowder factory. So there's a collection of these millstones here, quite big. I wonder how they used to move these in the old days. There's also this octagonal looking, pillar or some type of monument with a iron cross on top. As I'm walking on these this pathway, I gotta be a little careful because there's some moss on here and it's kind of slippery. Yeah, looks quite old this year. I don't know when it might have been built. There are also these series of these, stone pillars here, just standing there. Don't know if they supported some building or something in the past, or there was a porch here or something, but now they're just a bunch of pillars with a lawn. And then they have this old cannon, a big one, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 smaller ones around it. You can even see a cannonball in there. So there is a museum here, and also this church. I think I'm not going to go inside today. I'll do that another day. This white building that I showed you is the Convent and Church of St. Francis of Assisi. Does this have a date on here? World Heritage Site. No, it doesn't say any date that I can... Oh yeah, constructed in 1661. The church is built on laterite blocks and is lime plastered. So that is quite amazing that it has stood since 1661, and to be honest, it looks like to be in very solid shape still, almost 350 years later. So again, they have a couple of cannons here. I wonder if they were originally here or they were added later on. It says the World Heritage Monument, Churches and Convents of Goa. So this is the inside of this Cathedral of St. Francis of Assisi. It's very high. I don't know if you can judge the height from this angle, but it is very, very big. Quite high up. Doesn't seem to be anything going on here. It is interesting how in 1600s they could build these places, when there really wasn't, we're told, there were just a bunch of tribal people here, and the Portuguese just arrived a few years before. There's another view of that, you know, octagonal looking pillar with the iron cross on top. So this is a view of the side of this church, St. Francis of Assisi. And then as you pan around, you can see, you know, all these, there's a lot of, the grass is quite high because it's monsoon season right now. And a lot of nice palm trees. And across there, I think, is the St. Francis Xavier Church, which I believe is the oldest one in Goa. And they even have his body interred in there. It's mummified, and they bring it out, I think, every 10 years. It was actually out last year. And there were like hundreds of thousands of pilgrims had come here to view it. So the building complex is quite massive. That was the main church, but behind there, as I pan, you can see this continues. And I think now that second building, I believe, yeah, that's the museum. Yeah, impressive, like I said, how they were building these in the 1500s and 1600s with a very small population here. I do quite like these grounds here. Big greenery, and they are well maintained, although I said the grass is kind of high right now because they're not cutting it during the monsoon. I think this view kind of gives you the dimensions and the scale of these buildings. They're quite large, I must say. And that's the other church across, the older one. I think that was built in the 1500s. Goa has an interesting history that it remained a Portuguese colony for, I think, around 400 years. Even when the British were ruling over the rest of India, this small piece of land on the western coast, it remained in Portuguese hands. Heavy rainfall happening right now. This is monsoon. It rains for a few minutes, then it'll stop and it'll start up again. Here are a bunch of people taking shelter from the heavy monsoon downpour. The temperature is nice, so it's not cold. And from here in the rain, you can see the whole building complex of the St. Francis of Assisi Church. So this is called, the rain's kind of slowed down a lot. This is called the Basilica of Bom Jesus. Bom, I think it means a baby in Portuguese. So let's go inside and see there. We can learn about this old church. Yeah, it's a red stone building, or brick, I would say, not stone and brick. So it has a plaque there. I'm going to read that, what it says. So it reads here, World Heritage Monument, Basilica of Bom Jesus. The construction of the basilica was started in 1594. And it was consecrated in 1605. It seems to be closed, but this is the inside looking out from the doorway. And this is what it looks like from the front. These St. Francis Xavier was a Jesuit, and these were all built by the Jesuits, who basically were the first missionaries in India, or so we are told. And over there you can see the IHS, which I think is a Jesuit symbol. So these two are across from each other. That's the one that I just showed you, the St. Francis of Assisi. And this one here is the Bom Jesus Church. Or I should say the Basilica, because they do have these Basilica, Cathedral, Church, etc. They have technical terms. There are technical implications which I don't fully understand, but I think if persons are interested, they can find out the difference. Cathedral, I think, means throne. So when the bishop sits somewhere in his where he is, that place will be called a cathedral. The same thing with the basilica. I'm not sure what exactly it indicates, but there's some differences. So again, there's a lot of other buildings, a similar pillar to the one that they had on the other one with that iron cross on top. And There's some other smaller buildings in the back. Quite extensive the grounds are. So these are big, 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 you know, monuments, so you could say, that were built at a very long ago. But how they did it is mysterious to me. So this looks like a shrine to Saint Francis Xavier, and this is built, we are told, in 1666. And of course, you know, they had to have a souvenir shop. It's right here, Institute of Good Literature, Basilica of Bom Jesus Complex, Old Goa. And there's the yellow and white building next to the church, which looks like a dormitory or a monastery or something, which I assume was attached to the church or built later on after the church had been built. And as I mentioned, you know, that the body of this Saint Francis Xavier, who was the first Catholic missionary to India, it is interred, or his mummified remains remain inside that church, and they only bring them out every 10 years. They were here in 2024, so I guess the next time anybody will get to see them will be in 2034. So we'll do one pan of this whole, the two church complexes. That's the St. Francis of Asisi, and as I pan around slowly, then you come around to see this, the Basilica of Bom Jesus. And the grounds are kind of hidden behind the fence. There are more, like I said, buildings in this complex, so a lot of area and a lot of greenery. So that is kind of nice to come around here and walk around, especially in a day like today when the temperature is very moderate and it's a very pleasant day. So on that note, I'll wish you all a very, very pleasant day yourself, and we'll be back with some more of my travel diaries from Goa and other places that I have an opportunity to visit. There's that restaurant called Ratna Sagar. It's some good food in there and very reasonably priced, so time to go and have a bite to eat. God bless you all.